Is everything focused and everything?
Mm-hmm.
How'd you focus it without anyone here?
I didn't. I just left it.
Then you totally just lied to me.
No, I'm just convinced that it doesn't matter. I'm Steven.
And I'm Kevin.
And in today's episode of the Steven and Kevin Show,
we're going to talk about handling objections like, let me think about it.
Or I'm going to give my advisor one more shot.
Or thanks for your time. We'll be in touch.
This is going to be one hell of a call here.
You don't think so? I think this would be awesome.
The core note you have here says, preventative measures. It's about prevention. What does that say? Major typo.
Yeah, these are just my personal notes, man.
It's all about prevention.
Prevention. Why are you reading them? Why are you looking at my notes? Okay, ready?
And another important point I'd like to make is that's always a good idea.
It does not say that. It is not. It's not a script. It's just some bullets.
All right.
Okay, ready? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 29 of the Steven and Kevin Show. Thanks for all of you who've been tuning in over the past 28 episodes. And now we're at 29. We're approaching 30. We're really, really building here. Yeah,
so today we've got a fun topic lined up. We know none of us really like objections.
No.
You know, I get objections, you get them, Kevin, as we talk about our coaching and speaking services.
Yep.
It's never our favorite thing to do, but, if you put a little bit of time and thought into how you handle some of these, you end up with better outcomes. It's a lot of work to get people into the pipeline, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what most people come to us for is, hey, how do you get more people coming into my office and having meetings with us? It takes a tremendous amount of networking and introductions and CPA alliances and all that to get people in the door the first time. So you want to make sure your close ratio is rock solid, and being able to handle some of these pretty common objections is one way to do it.
I was going to say, I mean, if you put them down on a list, if you started thinking about the most common objections that you get, or stalls, or whatever you want to call them here, there's probably just a handful there, and you should be prepared for them. Without a doubt, you should kind of know how you're going to respond. But the first thing that you want to think about when you think about objections is more preventative measures. Like, have I done everything up until this point where I get this rejection right? Like, have I asked the right questions? Have I built enough rapport with this prospect? Have I taken the time to truly understand their needs and explain what differentiates our firm? Because really, you'd love to prevent getting these.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And, part of it is going into each meeting with what we call strategic intent. You're thinking in advance about what you want to occur in this actual meeting.
Yeah.
People come to us pretty often, Kevin, and want to know, what should the process be from the first meeting of discovery to the final meeting of getting them to sign the paperwork? Really, how should that flow? And I don't know that we've ever come out with one hard and fast, you have to do it this way kind of a rule, because frankly, we've seen a number of ways this can work.
Yeah, we've seen it at the first meeting, and the people move forward.
Well, we see some people who say that 2 meetings is plenty, and other people who say, no, I've got 5 steps to getting started, and I'm not going to deviate from that.
Right.
But but part of what the exercise we walk people through is naturally, how have you done this in the past? Does this process make sense? And are you in advance thinking about how you're going to get somebody from meeting 1 to meeting 2 to meeting 3, or however many steps are in your process?
Yeah. So ultimately, we want to avoid all of these. We want those preventative measures in place. We want to make sure we're doing a good job during that whole, prospect phase. But let's say when you get hit with one of these, kind of front and center, how are you going to respond to it? And do you have some good language there? And the first one we're going to go through today is very common, and I know I've given this objection to some people before, and that's, hey, I want to think about it a little bit.
What's there to think about, Nichols? Come on.
Actually, and if you think about this, like a consultant approach versus this is like maybe, I hate to say car salesman approach, but more of a pushy salesman style approach, they might try and challenge you like that. What do you need to think about?
Well, there's a ton of old sales training that was exactly like that. It was very confrontational.
Yeah, and that's not what we're really going for here. I think it kind of weakens your positioning a little bit here if I'm saying, what is there to think about, Steven?
You're taking people who are pretty bright, right? They're your clients. They've made some money for themselves. You're not going to coerce them into doing business with you.
How would you respond if someone said that to you? Like if you were meeting with a potential advisor, what do you need to think about, really?
Well, I don't like being made to feel uncomfortable, and I don't think anybody does. It would be, Who knows?
It would definitely paint a bad picture of them. You wouldn't want to go back.
That's not somebody you're looking forward to meeting with regularly, because if they treat you that way as a prospect, how are they going to act to you in listening to your concerns and being empathetic towards you when you're a client?
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't get better.
Yeah. So instead, what we want to do is embrace this, and it's going to it might catch them off guard a little bit to embrace it and to say something like, absolutely, that's a good idea. We want you to think about it. It's really important. We work with a handful of clients here in the area. We have really long-term standing relationships with them. We want you to make sure that you feel comfortable moving forward, and we want to feel comfortable as well. When would be a good time for us to circle back and close for a meeting? So embracing it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you can, there's two ways to go about that. You can do it reluctantly, or you can do it with, some enthusiasm for the idea. And people can read through that. If you're like, oh, yeah, good idea, Kevin, you probably should think about it, jerk.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right, actually.
So we're like, oh, yeah, no, please do, Kevin. I want you to put some real time and thought into this. And, we have long-term relationships. And, let's go ahead and set a time, though, to get back together and kind of go over any final questions you might have.
I like that. You're right. So the inflection and the energy has to be there. It has to be genuine. Another question you could throw out there is, have I given you all the information that you need at this point to make a decision? So basically, is there anything else that you need from me right now?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yep.
So, is this overcoming an objection like we titled this session? Not really. But there's no really way to overcome that one other than being a normal, nice person and being empathetic to the fact that it's a big decision for them.
Yeah.
Right? They do need to think about it a little bit.
And if, let's say you make that meeting and then they call and reschedule, which I'm sure a certain percentage of them will reschedule or just cancel the meeting. Well, that's okay, right? I mean, look, they were probably going to do that anyway. So again, just don't think too much into that one, and don't try and challenge it.
So, Kevin, what about I want to give my advisor another shot?
So this is probably pretty common too. It's someone who's feeling a little reluctant, probably doesn't want to go back and have to, sever that relationship with the other financial advisor. And so they're giving you, hey, look, I'm going to go back to them and talk to them. I mean, my first thought when someone was giving me that is I would probably want to ask some questions to kind of reel them back into why they were there in the first place. So I'd probably say, well, let me ask you, what brought you in, today in the first place? And I would probably start digging into that dissatisfaction that they had, and really reason for them meeting me, willingness to meet me in the first place.
That's right, you're reopening that wound.
Yeah, right? Reopen that wound a little bit, and kind of get their insight there. What would you say to something like that?
Well, what you want to say is a little bit different than what you should say a lot of times, and I think this one is one of those where, full well that if you've been slighted by a service provider, in this case, let's say a financial advisor, and they've given you either shoddy service or poor performance, or they just haven't been attentive to you, whatever it is, what is the likelihood that one come to Jesus meeting where you're saying, now, Kevin, I want things to work differently going forward. We need more communication, or that's it, right? What are the odds that long-term that's going to have a whole lot of effect? Kevin, more than likely, if he's that advisor who's been slighting me, just doesn't have the greatest business model for servicing clients.
Probably not.
My complaint is not changing that.
Yeah, exactly. From that advisor standpoint, maybe you're not a high priority client.
Yeah. So that's what we know, right? We know that is not going to change a whole lot. How you get that across to somebody, you've got to be a little bit delicate, because they're giving you their definitive answer of, I want to talk with my other advisor first. But you want to have them really understanding that people are going to make a lot of promises. We've had this happen in our business. When you confront a vendor that's been treating you poorly, in any service capacity, they're going to promise better service, more thoughtful, portfolios, whatever it is that was going wrong. They're going to tell you they're going to do it better. Now, does that stick long term? I think most of us know they're not. Right. Right. We respect the decision that you feel you've had a relationship with them and you want to give them another chance. But Kevin, what was it the other day? You were telling me the other day somebody had used making the prospect commit that. If you're going to go back and meet with them, I want you to commit that you're going to come back and give me another meeting as well, just to talk through what you uncovered with them and how you think things are going to work differently.
That's exactly. I had an old coaching client.
It's a little bit of a bold approach.
I had an old coaching client who was all about that, and because he said usually the last person to talk to them is the one who gets the business, and he's probably right. So he would make them say, hey, that's fine. If you want to go talk to them, I totally respect that. But just promise me that you'll come back and talk to me before you make your final decision.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you want to make sure they understand you've got to do what's in your best interest as the investor out there, right? And business goes back and forth in our industry. Nobody likes to lose clients, but business does go back and forth to various advisors.
Yep.
And you want to put them at ease about how easy and painless that process is. Obviously, they've got some reservations about leaving, and you want to make sure they understand, hey, just so you know, if and when you decide to move on with us and move away from this guy who's been giving you sorry service.
You just really, you put that one right in there.
If and when you decide to move over with us, the process is really painless nowadays. There's just a couple quick steps. You don't even have to talk to your old advisor if you don't want to. We can handle most of that, and believe me, it happens.
That's a good point, because you need to make it seem really like a simple process, because some of them don't want that confrontation.
Maybe they had never left an advisor before, and they're envisioning themselves having to go into the review meeting and break it to
being like, hey, just to let you know, hey,
15 years.
Things aren't working out here.
Yeah.
It's not me, it's you.
Right. Whatever language they use, that could be totally awkward.
Right.
But you're going to make it easy on them. So last one, Kevin.
The last one here is an objection where they don't really give you anything to work with. We call it like a silent objection, which is, you come in for a meeting and I'm saying, hey, thanks for your time today. We'll be back in touch. And it's like they don't give you any feedback. You really don't know if you're moving in the right direction, if you're not moving in the right direction. And it's a little frustrating at times.
Or it could be an objection by way of body language.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Objection.
So in that one, do you match and mirror that?
That's a good question, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, you probably should a little.
I mean, typically the rule of body language is if Kevin's leaning forward, I may too, or if he leans back and is more relaxed.
Yeah.
But if they look like they're angry and not happy to be there, I don't think you match that one. I think you try to counteract that one.
No, but yeah, what would you say in that situation? What do you do, Stephen, if someone's just not giving you much feedback and they're telling you today that they're not moving forward? Maybe you've had a couple meetings with them and it's just not clicking.
One thing I like to do with people is just to ask just verbal check-ins periodically, especially if you get the feeling that either they're not completely bought in, or when I do this, admittedly, is when I feel like I've talked a little too much. So let's say somebody's asking me details about one of our speaking topics or about our coaching process, and we all do occasionally, right? Got a little long-winded. I'm thinking they need to be talking more. That's when I would say, hey, I know I've went through a lengthy explanation there just to check in with you. Where's your, what's going through your mind as we've gone through some of this, right? So I like to check in like that periodically anyway. But I think in this situation, if you've been through a couple of prospect meetings with somebody, and they're, for whatever reason, not jumping up and down about moving forward with you, address it.
Yeah.
Call them out on it in a nice way to say, hey, Kevin, I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here. I think we've talked about a couple of solutions that are going to be a really nice addition to what you have going on there financially. But I'm not getting the sense that you're jumping out of your seat to get started here. What's going through your mind at this point?
That's good. That's really good language. So that's a great check-in. And you're putting the skunk on the table there a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely a Southern expression, is skunk on the table. But you're talking about the elephant in the room, which is like you can tell it's just not moving in the right direction. So I guess one of two things are going to occur. They're either going to say, no, actually things are moving in the right direction, but we just want to do our due diligence.
Yeah, sorry, I had a headache today, or whatever. It's hard to read body language.
Yeah, or they're going to say, well, the thing that really bothers us is that upfront planning fee. We really, and then you're at least now you have uncovered it, right?
What you're trying to do is to speed up the conversation. That conversation is going to happen. It's just a matter of whether it's in the car after the meeting with the two spouses talking about you, or whether you get them to address it right in front of you.
Exactly.
Right? They're going to be in the car saying, that upfront planning fee is just more than we can stomach. We're not going to move forward with that. Now you just had that conversation. We're able to overcome that.
Yeah, and you want to know what that is. I mean, that's exactly right. You need that intel. So those are three very common objections, our thoughts in terms of how to respond. There's no perfect answers here.
No, there's
perfect
not.
Answers.
And you may not be getting these exact same objections. Think about it with your, whether it's your stage in the business.
Yeah.
Let's say you've got a baby face like us here, and somebody's questioning, how long have you been in the business?
Right.
That's an objection.
Yeah.
Or let's say you're the opposite, and you've now made it into your 70s.
How much longer are you going to be in the business?
Who's going to take over your clients when you decide to retire?
That's true.
And a common objection.
So be ready for those. I mean, there's no excuse for not being prepared for the most common objections that you're going to get anyway.
Yeah, market volatility. Hey, I'll wait till things settle down. How do you respond to that?
Right.
Right.
If you have a question, use hashtag #AskStephen&Kevin. You can use it on Twitter. You can use it on Instagram. We're starting to get more and more of those lately, and we really appreciate that. Ask us questions for the show, and we'll feature one of your questions for the show.
Yeah, and do check out our performance coaching program.
There we go. There's our plug.
It is the best in the industry. We are a little biased in saying that, but we do believe it.
Yep.
And if you ever want a consultation, just give us a ring or fill out our online profile. Thanks all.
Did you know that someone called our show zany? Zany. I was thinking, who's the zany one?
It's hard to fit the word zany into conversation.
Yeah.
I've been waiting all year to use that one.
Is that like quirky?
Who said that?
Coaching client.
Yeah. Zany. What are you, like,
But he said he loves it. But he said it's zany.
It's like we're wearing like funny hats or something. Like, hey.
Zany.
We're like Mark Summers back in, his hosting of Nickelodeon shows. Like, hey, Mark Summers here.
Zany. Oh, wow. I think you're the zany one. I don't think either one of us want to be the zany one. Well, Stephen, he's the zany one. No, it's the zany one on the show.
Yeah,
All
the
right.
Kramer from Seinfeld.